Okay, so the first I want to go over is top paid iPhone apps that are out right now. I believe I got most everybody's final. In fact, I got everybody's final app ideas, which are awesome. Um, we're going to talk about your wireframe in just a second, your prototype app in just a second. I'm going to actually look at those next week. I think we originally had slated to look at week 6, but since we were off last week, I'm going to give you till week 7, which is next week, to actually start having something for that. So you'll notice on June is these are like huge right. Messenger. You want to go of an iPhone or iPad currently, and you want to not upgrade it. I recommend upgrading. This is just a short video that we're going to watch.
Apple's iOS 9 and watchOS 2 updates are finally rolling out, so if you haven't prepared yet, it's time to back up your devices and head on over to the Settings app to get yourself some fresh iOS goodness. Hey, what's up everyone? This is Dom, and today we're taking a look at the top iOS 9 features available. And also, if you'd like to know what's new with the Apple Watch and what new features are coming with watchOS 2, I'll be sure to leave a link to that video below. First up, for all you power users out there, we have a new low power mode, which will help conserve some of that precious battery life when you get towards the end. It can be enabled within the Settings app and conserves battery by limiting background app activity and some visual effects. And you'll be prompted to enable this when the device hits 20 and 10% before it dies. Next up, we have a redesigned app switcher. Yep, that's it. Not really any extra functionality here, but it looks a bit prettier. Everything functions exactly the same, just double press the home button and swipe up to kill apps. Apple did, however, remove the recent contacts section that lined the top in iOS 8. Luckily, those recent contacts are still around, but are now found in the relocated and semi-redesigned Spotlight search. It now lives to the left of the home screen, though you can still access it by swiping down on the home screen as well. Kind of weird having this in two places, but the version on the left has more features, and it comes along with some goodies. So here you'll find Siri suggestions, which is a combination of recent contacts and apps. And there's also nearby places and recent news headlines below it. And this area is auto-populated by your use and your interests, so it'll change from time to time. iOS 9 also brings along a refreshed Notes app, and there's a bit of a new experience here with some pretty nifty features. Any of these new features can be found above the keyboard or at the bottom of the app, and the Notes app now allows you to create pretty nifty lists that you can actually use to check off items. There are also some new formatting options available to make your text look a little bit fancier, if that's your thing. And not only can you embed photos and take photos to embed, but you can also create little drawings or sketches, which might come in handy if you had an iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil maybe, but these can also be embedded into the notes and saved for future use. Siri has also been given a fresh look and feel with iOS 9. It now closely resembles what's found on the Apple Watch. There's a handful of new commands available, but your best bet is asking Siri what those are for yourself. Siri can now do things like create reminders based on email or text conversations and even location-based reminders, which is extremely helpful, but you can now also use Spotlight search to retrieve some of the same Siri results as well without the need to talk to Siri. Apple has added a couple of new apps to the mix as well that you may want to know about. The first of which is the News app, and this is Apple's new curated newsreader, and it's pretty simple to use. You can set it up based on categories and publications that you're into and let iOS 9 do the rest. Just launch the News app and sift through recent headlines and tap on one to read more in a streamlined version of the website. Just text and images without all of the other clutter. There's also a new Icloud Drive app, which is actually hidden by default. And this new app can actually be enabled through the Settings app under Icloud Drive settings and will appear on the home screen. It's not much special, but it will allow you to view your iCloud Drive documents, delete them, move them, and create new folders. But unfortunately, there's no upload function at the moment. Jumping into the Maps app, we'll find a new feature that isn't really new in the navigation department, but new to iOS 9. There are now transit directions available, which is handy if you've absolutely refused to use literally almost any other navigation app up until now. So you can get those important transit directions natively without the need for a third-party app. Cool, but just Apple playing catch-up here. Moving over to the iPad, there are a few standout features that you absolutely need to know about. Apple has reimagined the multitasking on an iPad and given it some new features. Slide over will allow you to slide a new app over from the right side of the screen, and this secondary app will actually just take up a third of the display, and you can easily swap it out for another compatible app by swiping down from the top of the slide over view. It's a very quick and easy way to accomplish two things at once if that's your thing, but it gets even better than that. You can actually take this slide over app and drag it from the left to enable a full-on split view of two apps side by side. Of course, this is limited to apps that actually support this new view, but as more apps become compatible, I can see this being a very useful feature. Hell, it's already useful with the basic set of apps available with iOS 9, but let me know what you think about split view in the comments. Of course, none of this is new to tablets or mobile devices in general, but it's nice to finally have an iOS. There's also a new picture-in-picture view for videos and FaceTime calls on iPad. You can easily back out of a video that you're watching and do something else with a small little video window that can be moved around or tossed to the side if it's in the way. It can be moved all around the screen, and you can even maximize the video again if you want to get back to it. Definitely one of my favorite features here. And if you've been looking for keyboard features, iOS 9 has you covered on the iPad and iPhone 6s with easy text selection. Just tap and hold with 2 fingers or use 3D Touch on the 6s to quickly move the cursor around and select text. It takes a little getting used to, but it works pretty great for making quick edits without the need to tap 5,000 times to get to the right place. Along with that, the new iPad keyboard also includes some quick shortcut buttons for cut, copy, paste, and undo, which you can find in the top left corner of the iPad keyboard. Again, just some things to make your text editing and typing a little bit quicker. So that about wraps it up for these top features of iOS 9 on iPhone and iPad. And like I said, if you want to know some of the new features that are coming with the Apple Watch and watchOS 2, I'll be sure to leave that video linked below for you. But let me know what you think about iOS 9 in the comments section below. And if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave it a thumbs up. Thanks again for...
All right, so a few features in iOS 9. We went over already week 5, forking and cloning and GitHub, hiding keyboard and scroll views. This week, we're going to be looking at prototyping, simulator file access, prototyping, images, and rotation. Those of you who are on the Periscope last night, I showed you a preview of the app. That app's already been updated to the new version of Swift on GitHub, which I'll go over in a second. But it's real popular with an app to rotate a lot of times, you know, from landscape to portrait, portrait to landscape. And that's what you'll basically be doing this week. I put in here on this slide just an easy way to get to simulator file access on a Mac. And you can just watch this on the overhead. But I'm going to go library, go to folder, and then ~/library, and then developer, and you don't have to do this, just kind of watch if you don't mind. Developer, and then course simulator, and devices. And this is basically all of the apps that I've ran on my Mac recently. You'll notice the top one today at 5:23 was a one that we ran in class. Now the naming convention on this is not the greatest, but if you know when you ran an app, if you just got through doing it, like we did tonight, this is the actual environment where your simulator puts all of the code for that app. All right, and it's real important when you start getting into like database connectivity with core data. But I just threw that in this week just so you'll know, hey, where's all these files being stored? That's on that slide for you. Simulator prototype. Prototype, we're using fluidui.com. Some of you might have already started that. If you've not yet started or created an account in fluidui.com, that was one of the things we went over a few weeks ago, back before we left. Fluidui.com was one of the benchmarks that you guys were supposed to have done before tonight, but we were gone last week, so I'm going to extend it to week 7. Give you a week to go to fluidui.com, and all I need you to do is register a free account and begin playing with the interface. Okay, and that's the best way to learn it, is to play with it. I do have some links we're going to look at in just a second on this slideshow, but when I look at it next week, I want to come by your computer and you're going to show me when you log into fluidui.com that you have an account and you started playing with it. Now, I could just have one slide on there, the name of your app, and that's it. That's fine. That makes sense? That way I know at least you're getting started with prototyping, and Fluid UI allows you to do that. Now, let me show you here a couple prototypes. On the next slide here, on slide 9, there's a couple links. I'm going to go ahead and click on those. You can click on them with me. The QR code, by the way, that Fluid UI creates up here on the upper right corner, you'll see it on your screen. There it is. You can take a scanner app for Android or an iOS, either one, click on that with a scanner app, and take a picture of it, and it'll load this app into that phone to view. And what's cool about it is it's interactive. So this app was called Caught Doing Good. Click above to capture a doing good moment. This app is designed to capture folks you come in contact with that are doing good. So I click on the little picture icon here and give an option here to use it, retake it. I'm going to use it. Title it, Students Get iPads, Successful Grant was created for the course a few semesters back. And you can save it and see all the other ones out there. And so again, this is actually, you can create this in fluidui.com very easily. Yes? Excuse me? What was it again?
Should we use our student email to sign in?
It doesn't matter to me. Yeah, if you want to use your student email or another email, that's fine. It doesn't really matter. As long as you're using it, whatever email you want, that's fine by me. I'm not going to require to use. The benefit of not using Rock Valley College's emails, once you finish classes here, you can continue to use Fluid UI. And the way it works with Fluid UI, it does give you 10 screens free, 10 screens available at no cost. If you want more than that, you have to pay. But for what you're doing for this semester, 10 screens generally are enough for most of you in your apps that you're creating. And so this is, again, drag and drop. You basically take and drag and drop items onto the screen and connect things. Like, for instance, this button here is literally drag and drop to Fluid UI. And I'll show you here what it looks like on the interface just to show you how easy it is to use. I'll log in here to show you. There we go. Okay, so here's actually the app right here. Boom. Here's the layout. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pages. And you notice all the arrows. That just basically says where the buttons are going when I click on them, and that's it. So like this right here, if I go ahead and go into this one, and notice this button actually goes to this screen here and back. And when you click on an object, you actually have the option to, say where it's going to go. I'm going to link it. When you click on link, you then have the option to click on another page of where you want it to go. That's how simple it is. And so regardless if it's a button or an image or whatever, it's as simple as clicking on an object and telling it where it's going to go, and that's it. So you're simulating the app in a prototype layout. Pretty cool, right? Next one is this one here. This one's actually a prototype for a local company, Stenstrom. This is a prototype we created for the company about 1.5 years ago, and it's for all their mobile stations, and has on the front end news, information, promotions. They can simulate and go into the service call that a user might fill out, all from sending it. to compliance to a simulated site. And again, these are all just screens, laid them out, put them in there, pictures, buttons, and all the buttons, pictures you would have to upload, but the buttons and things are all available through fluidui.com. They're all available for you. So buttons, picture places, placements, toolbars, all that stuff's available to you. So between now and next week, create the fluidui.com account, begin laying out at least one page, put your title of your app on there, and that's it. That way when I come by, at least I know you've started. And again, prototyping is important to help you begin your app development. And I'm just going to check to make sure you've created it, and that's it next week. Questions on that? Okay. This week we're going to be playing with an app that's a master detail again, and it's basically going to be an app called My Bands. I'll forward fast to that. And the Bands app basically, I will run real quick for you. And you'll have to fork and clone it, go through the README, replace your bands with My Bands with your bands, and then commit it. So let me just show you what it's going to look like. So let's do this together tonight. I know we spent a lot of time on week 5, and I've already changed the app here and updated it to the newest Swift. So if you guys will do me a favor, since you've already done this already once tonight, we're going to do it again. I'm going to have you fork and clone week 6 in class in your GitHub environment. So if you'll go to week 6 in class in Eagle, click on the My Band app, fork and clone to desktop. Okay. And go ahead and click the fork icon on the upper right corner once you've logged into your GitHub environment. So again, 6 in class, click on the fork and clone to desktop, log into github.com if you're not logged in already, click on the fork button and fork it to your account. Okay. While you're doing that, I'm going to go ahead and read what I have here on the My Bands. Basically, the app we're going to look at here in a second is my favorite bands. So it's got 8 bands. You'll see the images of. You're going to be downloading images, 8 images. And because we spent so long on week 5, I think I'm going to let you do this outside of class, if that's okay with you. But I'm going to go walk you through it and show you how it works and show you what you need to do for your in class, and then also what you need to do for your take home. There's already a podcast for this, but you'll have this one as well. So it's a master detail app you'll be creating. That's an iPad, no core data. You'll delete the label and the detail view controller. You'll add a UI image to the detail view controller. Make sure the view mode is aspect fit. You'll create an outlet, name it product image view. You'll create a new group folder called images, and you'll import your 8 images, follow the instructions in the comments and the master and also in the detail, and then compile it. So you forked and cloned it, right? Now I'm going to go ahead and, or you forked it. Now let's go ahead and clone it to the desktop of your Mac. And I'm going to put mine on my desktop as well. And
Finish it 4 o'clock?
no, I'm going to give you guys, generally we do this in class, but I am going to give you until, for the week 6 in class and homework both, till next Monday. How's that sound? Sound good? Because my knee's killing me, and I can't really stand and walk around anymore, if you don't mind. Once it gets through syncing here, what do I do next to find this on my Mac? Anybody remember?
Control click.
There you go.
Find it.
Good. Control click on my week 6. It's called week 6 screen rotation master detail, I believe, once you get it down there. So control click, open in Finder, and then I'm going to go ahead and double click on my fave bands, and then control click on my Xcode proj, and I'll open it in Xcode 6.4. If you have 7, it should be fine. Or 6.3. Okay. Now, once it loads up properly and gets, while it's even indexing, we can click on the main.storyboard, And I'm going to kind of walk around here real quick to make sure you don't have any issues on getting this, especially those on the Macs in here. Yeah, just click on the main.storyboard. That'd be awesome. While it's syncing, you can do that. Go to your website, hit the home desktop, and then hit home. If there's stuff, as it finally shows up, control click on that, and open and find it. Yep. Okay, I need you to click on the folder on the left side, where it says my favorite. See the folder? The folder on the left side. Yep, expand that to where you see the, Diane's got it, yep, main.storyboard, good. So basically you're going to click on this folder here, then my fave bands and my fave bands here, and make sure everybody's clicked on this main.storyboard. You can hide the outline if it's showing, by the way, right now. Like mine's showing, you can hide that. Okay. All right, so this is a simple master detail view. All right, and what we're going to be using for the master detail view, we have to use, is an array. Now, I believe when we did the website one a while back, web browser one, we had 2 arrays, right? We had an array for the menu, and then we had an array for the URLs, remember? This one's going to use one array, which is the name of your bands or artist, and the name of that array has to match the name of the image that you use when you save it in this environment. So if you'll just hang tight with me for just a second, I'll kind of explain it. So if you'll notice on the left side of my Xcode environment, and this is being recorded so you can relax and just kind of watch if you don't mind. You'll notice on the left side, you can expand the images while I'm going through this. You'll notice I have 38 special .jpg, bandperry.jpg, Eagles, all the way down to Miranda Lambert.jpg. Okay? You'll notice they're all JPGs, okay, all of them. And whenever I add images into my apps, I always do a couple things. One is I create a group folder. That's what this is, called group folder. And to create a group folder in your Xcode environment, it's as simple as, and don't do this, just kind of watch, you can right click on your project and add a new group. And I added a new group and I call it images, and I imported those images. And I make sure that those images show up and here. If they don't show up here when I click on them, they're not going to show up on the app. I also have an image I called main.png that tells the user what they should do when the app runs. They hit that little select menu to get to the menu item. So that's the first thing. The images are important. The image names. Remember the image names I have there for a second. I'm going to go to the master view controller.swift, which controls, remember, the menu. And these are commented just like week 5 and so on. The rest of the assignments this semester will be commented out what's happening. I tell you when you create this master detail to comment out some things, to add some things. Number 1 here, I have you comment out a line that's called var objects equals ns mutable array, and create a new ns mutable array called list array. Number 3, comment out the self.navigation item.left bar item, which is the edit item. Remember when you guys create a master detail, the default one has a little edit button. We get rid of that. We don't need it. Then number 4, we populate, and this is important, populate the array of band names from the images you downloaded. The names must match file names without file extension .jpg. So you'll notice my list array names match the image names that I just went over, Joe Cocker, Leonard Skinner, all the way to Ben Perry, even with the spaces. Does that make sense? So if you have spaces in your array, or if they're caps or they're lowercase, make sure the names of your images match that. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, it won't work. The images won't show up. But we get by just having one array by doing that. So I have one array called list array with all the names of the bands that match the images. Number 5, I comment out the add button, which is 2 lines. Number 6, I add a title called My Favorite Bands. If you want to put something in there differently, you can. It can be my favorite, musicians or something. Doesn't really matter. That's the title that's going to show up on the master side. Then you don't touch anything else in there. You just basically add the title. Then number 7, you comment out the insert function. We won't be inserting new menus from the default master detail. Number 8, we will replace the object with list array and nsdate with NSS string. If you remember on the master detail default app, when you hit the plus button, remember how it adds multiple dates and times? Well, we're getting rid of that and replacing it with the name of the array that they're referring to. So whatever object they're on the array item, say if it's object 0, it's going to pull in the list array 0 for the object image. Number 9, these 3 lines of code will populate the name, URL, and will ignore the error lines. Because I'm telling you, if you create this, when you create this from scratch, there will be some error lines as you're going down, but you just ignore them for right now. Number 10, you'll add to hide the menu after a tap, which is this line here, self.splitViewController, toggle master view. Number 11, comment out the return objects.count and put in the return list array.count. What that's going to do is replace the default date arrays that are in there in the master detail with your actual name of your bands or your musicians or whatever you want to call them. Then, number 13, we comment out the table override for the making the table editable or the menu editable. Then number 14, same deal. This is going to comment out making that list uneditable, basically. And then 15, this one is actually the extension that we're going to add to hide the menu after the tap. Now I'm going to go to the view controller, the detail view controller. Not as many numbers here. The first comment on this one is I comment out the detail view description label, because remember in the description I have you delete the label first when you create the master detail. Comment out the self view controller configure view. Number 3, add a did set for the product name, which is this right here. And then add a did set for the product URL, which is this right here. And then number 4, modify the configure view to load whatever image is coming over into the as a URL into the image. And then number 5, the view did load will determine if the product is null, product name's null. It's going to go to that main.jpg or the main.png file, which is this one right here, which is a menu item. And that's going to show up when the app first loads with the product name on the title. So if it's Van Perry will show up. If it's Miranda Lambert, Miranda Lambert will show up. And so let me go ahead and run this to show you what it looks like. And you've already forked and cloned it. So when you work on it this week, you can, for practice, replace my images with your images, replace my array on the master side with your array. Just make sure your image names match the array names in the master view controller. Because if the image names do not match the list array names, it's not going to work. So you'll notice when it runs first, there's my main.png, because I haven't clicked anything yet on the menu. And it says here, select from that menu. So I'll click on that, go to Leonard Skinner. There's Leonard Skinner. From that, Miranda Lambert. That, Van Perry. Right? Pretty simple so far. Now, we're going to talk about rotation. The new version of Xcode made it much easier for rotation. What we'll do is basically go to the hardware menu, just go to rotate left. And you'll notice when we rotate left, the stuff changes a little bit. The menu on the left stays up and static, the master, and the detail does as well in conjunction. All that happens is you'll notice the detail forces the image to fit into detail regardless of what size it is. It's going to force it. Then if I take it back to hardware rotate right, it's going to take back to portrait, back to where I was. Okay. And so what you're going to do for the in class, and I'll go back to that screen for the in class, is you're going to there's a readme.file, a readme.md file. You'll look at that. You'll replace the bands with your bands, and then you'll commit and sync it. Now you've already synced it currently the way it is now to your GitHub. And let me show you very quickly here that README file, what it looks like. It's the same stuff as down there. So you'll just download 8 images. Make sure they're JPEG images. You'll create a new master detail, iPad project. Make sure you uncheck core data. You'll delete the label on the detail view controller. You'll add a UI image to the detail view controller. Make sure and do when you click on it, you'll make sure it's aspect fit. You'll create an outlet of that UI image, name it product image view. If you name yours anywhere different than mine, it's going to, error out later. So if your names are different than mine, like say you do a caps P instead of lowercase p, you might, you see a difference in my code from your code. Create a new group like I showed you earlier for images, add your images in there. Follow the instructions like I just went over with you on the master and the detail both, okay? And then you'll command R it to run it, all right? Sound okay? Sound like something you can do? All right, you do have the final, by the way, you do have the one I give you here in 6 in class is a final working copy of the app. You're just going to replace the in class stuff to play around with it. You're going to change, I want you to change the array in the master with your array. So you're going to replace my list array, Joe Cocker, Leonard Skinner, with your names of your bands that you like. Download those same images. And what you can do to make it easier, for some of you, it might be easier to do this. When you import your images here, you can leave mine in there. You don't have to take them out. But when you import yours in there, leave them the name, whatever you downloaded them. And then when you click on them, you'll know what it is. And you can click on this in here and rename it that way, instead of trying to rename it before you import them. Does that make sense? So it might be easier just to download them first, import them, and then rename them second after you've imported them. So you'll redo the list array to your list array. Make sure your names are coincide with your list array names. On the main.jpg, I don't have you mess with that, but if you wanted to come up with a different one than I have, since mine fits with what my bands are, you can do your own. Website I recommend to do this editing I just did here is pixlr.com. If you've had me for digital photography, I use that a lot for any online. It's like an online Photoshop. Pixlr.com. It's a really good website for photo editing. It does give you layering. You can add text, just like you can in Photoshop, basically. I know some of you have used it already. So I recommend Pixlr if you want to do on-the-fly editing of any text. And well, so once you've done the editing of the list array, you bring the images in. The detail view, really don't need to make any changes on that, because if you leave the main.png like mine, that name, no changes there. The only changes that need to be made for the in-class is going to be your list array name and your images. Boom, right? And you don't need to delete my images. So that's the take-home, or the in-class. Due next Monday. I'll change the date to be sure it's due next Monday. And then the assignment is you're going to try your best to, this is what I suggest, make sure you run that in class until you understand what it's doing and how it's working, okay, before you attempt the assignment. Because the assignment, I want you to create a brand new project by yourself, master detail. What I would suggest to do, because Xcode allows you to do this, you can have multiple projects in Xcode running. Leave the in-class up and running. Leave it there for you to look at. Does that make sense? To go back and forth as a resource. But you're going to create the master detail, a new one, based on your interest, just like the in-class, but you're creating it from scratch. This one I want you to add 10 photos of your choice. It can be favorite foods, places to eat, places you want to visit, your bucket list. Had a student do a bucket list last semester, and he did like 20 images. So if you want to do more than 10, you can. You're more than welcome to. Portrait orientation, show your interest, photos vertically. Landscape orientation, show your interest, photos horizontally. Add whatever code's needed for the master detail from the in-class. Submit it to GitHub. I do put in here a challenge. If you want to add app icons, which I know some of you are wanting to do by now, I have a YouTube video that shows you how to do it, along with the website link to pixlr.com and even complete source code to help you with that. Final App Edition, if you're going to be using this for your, I told you 2 weeks ago, remember you'd have an option for Final App. If you wanted to use this for your Final App, you can basically create a prototype of your app this week for your take-home. Do what it says here to do. So before creating an app in Xcode, it's a good idea to create a prototype using Fluid UI. So you have two options for your take-home assignment. One is building on the in-class and adding 10 images of your own liking and your own menu, or work totally on your prototype app for Fluid UI. Make sense? One of the two you can do, or if you want to do both, you can. So, but I'm going to require one for the 6th assignment. That make sense? So that is your final addition, your final app addition, or final app option this week. And you will have that, by the way, from now till week 12, final app addition or final app option instead of the canned assignment, like I told you would have. So you can work on your fluidui.com app between now and next Monday as your final app, or your take-home app 6th assignment, or you can work on the canned assignment, either one. Okay. If I was to recommend one for you, if you understand the in-class assignment, it would probably be good practice to go ahead and create one from scratch. It's probably not going to take you 15, 20 minutes if you follow along the instructions and go and have the one open, the in-class one open right there for you. Create it, make sure you understand it, and then jump right into your prototype app. Make sense? and look at the examples that I've given you already this week in the slideshow for the 2 prototype app examples. Because prototyping is very important when it comes to, because I know you guys, from looking at your ideas, you have great ideas, but prototyping is going to help you put those ideas on to Canvas before you go to Xcode. And prototype app like fluidui.com is going to help you flesh that together. If it's too much of a jump to do that first, the fluidui.com, some of you might be helpful to draw it out on paper first. Okay, each one of your pages. Might be helpful for you to do that if that's helpful to you. To sketch it out roughly how you want it, and then go to fluidui.com to lay it out. Make sense? So whatever's easier for you, it's your own discretion on that. So you're going to know what's good for you or not good for you. So questions on your in-class or take-home, what's due by next Monday? Anything? Any questions? Yeah. Correcto mundo. I don't want you, I'm not going to call it waste time, but I don't want us to be bogged down on week 5 anymore. I want you to just get week 5 submitted, go right to week 6 and get it done and start getting on your prototype. Because the sooner you get on your, actually start thinking and working on your final app, the more time you have, the better you'll have, the better product you'll have at the end of the semester, if that makes sense. Does that help? So you'll see the shift now from here on out to week 12. The in-class will help you to add to your final app, but you will have a final app option every week from here on out to week 12, because I don't want you to week 12 and go, I haven't had any time to work on my final app. You have time. You have time. I'm giving you time to do it. Just like this week, finish the in-class by next Monday, and it's probably going to take you probably, if I was to guess, an hour at the most to finish it. Watch the podcast over, the one we did in class over right now, get it done, submit it, and then once you've committed that, go right to the prototype app, fluidui.com, create your account. If nothing else, get one slide added on there with the title of your app, and that's it. If you have a picture you want to put on there, that's fine, but you don't have to. All right? Questions? Yes.
So you said instead of doing the 6th assignment, we can either do that or we can work on the prototype in the
fluidui.com. Yes, definitely.
Of our final app.
Of your final app, yes. Of your final app.
Yeah,
the fluidui.com is your final app.
That's just laying it all out.
Laying it all out, exactly. And you might only get, let's say you only get 3 pages done between now and next Monday. That's 3 pages. That's three pages in your app. That's a lot. It might just get your home page and a couple other pages done, but that's fine. It'll be rough, but that's fine. You'll start your wheels turning in your head of how your app's going to work. And the beauty of fluidui.com, it's super easy to use. I mean, I've used this with grade schoolers. It's like super, super, super easy to use. It's literally put a button on there. So you have say you have 2 pages. You have a button on one page, a button on another page. You click on the button on this page, you say link, and it tells you, okay, where do you want it to go? You click on the second page, done. Second page, you go back to the first page. That's how easy it is. So hopefully you will like it. I've used it for years. It's free, which I love, and you guys don't have to pay for it, and it gives you plenty of pages to start out your app development. So if you have any questions, come up and see me. Otherwise, I will see you next Monday, and I will have this podcast uploaded before I leave tonight. So thanks for your patience, by the way. You guys did great tonight. And if you didn't check in, I will have this unlocked for you.